Hey, 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 if you are witnessing this, you have entered the Night Natter Zone with your host, with the most, Kimara Knight. So this is essentially the place where I say things that have been floating around up here. Like they're things that I don't necessarily want to turn into poems or songs, at least for now, at least yet. But they're also things that I feel like maybe the world could benefit sharing this thought. Night Natter's been here. If you've been here, you've seen it, but I'm working on consistency. Hence, this outfit is going to be very similar for a few of the videos. But, you know, we're going to switch it up over time. Just trying to honor divine guidance, right? Because everywhere I turn, people are like, why don't you post words? Here it is. Here I am. But that is the episode topic of the day. Words. ADHD brain be braining, so be patient with me. Because I don't know how much of this I'm going to edit out, honestly. I'm like, so this isn't the topic itself, but I've been living a very unmasked life. I've been unmasked for 2 years now because, you know, during the pandemonium, I essentially lost my medical coverage. How do we get into that? Essentially, make a long story short, like your girl had her meds and now she don't, right? So it's been like 2-3-ish years without them. And during the pandemonium, it didn't really matter, but now I'm living my best life. We're trying to, and I see a difference. I see the difference. It's a lot. It's hard. It's hard, but that is where we get into the episode. So, what are we going to call this? I think I'm going to call it New Nazareth. And I'm just going to do a little anecdote and testimonial, if you will, on just following your inner guidance, trusting your gut. As y'all know, I give it up to the big G-O-D. We can get into, you know, as y'all know, I give it up to the big G-O-D. So that's my prerogative. That's my focus. Whatever your prerogative is, let that be. I'll definitely have more conversations about faith and stuff later on. But, you know, just at the end of the day, a broken clock is right twice a day, right? So whether you do or don't believe in, you know, the Holy Trin and all them up there, truth be truthin', right? Two truths exist, etc. So nevertheless, it's always a good idea. No matter what you believe, it's always a good idea to believe in yourself. Ashe, amen. And it's always a good idea to recognize your intuition and your gut. So I'm going to just get a little anecdote into that. Around 2020 or in 2020, I had started feeling the allure, the desire to leave. Dare I say, I felt called to leave. As many of y'all may or may not know, I'm from New York. Big Bronx energy. So it was really hard to like receive that information. And I'll say why, because it wasn't the pandemonium. 2019, I had just started college. Right before then, I had been living like my artist, freelance, get this gig, get that work, get that shmoney life. And I mean, it's been a dream of mine to be in college, like literally my whole life. So, you know, it was a delayed plan, but it was part of my plan to always go to school. So when I did start my time as a collegiate, my undergrad associate's journey, you know, I unfortunately wasn't going in with the best spirits due to just a lot of drama and trauma that had happened my whole life. But as you know, like prior to 2019 in particular, like 2018, 2017. So 2019, it was really like a redemption arc for me. It was like, okay, this is the last thing I could think of before I yeet myself off of something. Again, if y'all been here a minute, y'all know the mental health be mental health. And so I identify as an artist, author, and an advocate, primarily for mental health and social justice things. Okay, glad we could get that out there. So that stated, 2019, it was fantastic. I started school finally. I felt like I was in a good place. I wasn't quite where I wanted to be, but I was finally on track to something I'd wanted my whole life. So it really felt like the chips were coming together, right? We're falling into line. Because 2020, January, I moved out for the first time. So I was with a homegirl. We got our own apartment, and just life was my oyster, okay? Like, we was a pearl out here. And then the pandemonium happened. And, well, let's just say, if you didn't plan to be in online school, so I did my best. I did what I could do. Actually, as usual, but like, as usual, I genuinely, as usual, I was like getting these straight A's and whatnot. Like, I'm not even trying to toot my own horn. That stated, actually, it's so funny because I literally have a sign on my wall that I had to put up for myself. I know it's going to come up backwards, but it says, thought. A's are less about intellect and more about sacrifice. Sometimes life will simply cause you to forge a zero. A's mean in a moment you were meant to get rest, you bum rush the battery, sucking to max capacity. That's like a little reminder / epiphany I had to like cultivate for myself, because I've been a straight A student my whole life. And yeah, sometimes to my detriment. Like, there are some times I definitely should have just taken a B or taken an F even, and I just said, steam ahead. So, pero we'll get back to, don't want to get caught up in that. Point being, brain fart. Hold on. Right, so, I'm in school, I'm getting good grades, but I'm also getting excessively burnt out. And I mean, again, who wasn't during the pandemonium, right? But for me, as I was saying on the advocacy tip, for a lot of people, it's like, yes, now everybody's struggling, but if you were struggling before the pandemonium, don't you think those struggling before it are struggling even more? Like, I hate when 2 and 2 don't make 4 and ends up making 22 for, anyway, point being, so your girl was struggling, A's or no A's. I was like, this ain't how I imagined my whole life to go. And again, everyone could relate to that sentiment, at least, right? But yeah, I did not anticipate my college journey turning into that, especially since I was a music major. And any applied science majors, ones who have to do performance or labs, especially in those those earlier days of the pandemonium, being on Zoom and stuff, yeah, it was a struggle bus and a half. Like, we were paying that struggle bus fare for real. So, 2021, unfortunately in 2021, I decided to take a leave of absence from school. I was only maybe like a year away, or not even a year. I think I was like a few months shy of grad. I don't even know. Like, point being, I was like really close, right? I was really close to the finish line. And it hurt. Like, I think it was maybe a semester away. Point being, it hurt because I was burned out, and I just genuinely, I could not do it anymore. Like, you could not pay me enough to open up my laptop. Like, that's how bad it was. And I had never been that burnt out in my life, ever. So it was really excruciating because it made me question myself, blah, 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 blah. So I'm getting to my point. I just have to add this context, right? Add this color. So like I said, we're in 2021. I'm living in 2020, and this is adding the color, right? 2020 moved out for the first time. Yay. And then just because people be peopling, I had to move again. Then I had to move again. So not only did I move for the first time in my life, I moved 2 more times on top of that. So in 2020, I moved for the first time and then 3 times altogether. And yeah, 2021, I guess who wouldn't be burnt out after that? But I was disappointed in myself. And I remember back in 2020, during the first move, I heard Spirit telling me, and I'm going to 2020, during that first move, I heard something inside. I call it Spirit. I heard Spirit telling me, you need to leave New York. And I was like, I just got my own crib. Now, let me make this point really, very, very clear. I was ready to move. Because one thing about me, if God tells me to do something, I do want to do it. Takes me a little long. Might be an ADHD thing, might be just a me thing, But for the most part, because I've seen miraculous things in my life and have testimonies for days, I'm prone to obey. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm prone, because I've also dealt with what happens when you don't obey. And so in this case, I felt and heard the calling. And I could talk more about like what that could look like. I think that looks different for everybody. But in my experience, it looked like, starting to have like some very vivid dreams, starting to see the same commercials or people saying things that I've never heard them say before, but like now everything, like these signs are just all coming. So it was telling me like, yeah, you need to leave and you need to go to X place. I didn't listen. long story short, I almost listened, right? Almost is not good enough. Almost doesn't count. It doesn't, my love. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because it was close. Like I found a place. I was actually looking at Georgia at the time. The calling was Georgia. Go to Georgia. And I actually did do like a little tour out there. So I did go to Georgia, but I didn't end up like moving there. Like right before I was about to sign some paperwork and make it happen, you know, I just had some people in my ear like, don't do it, and I should have listened to this instead of that. Which again, use discernment, pray, meditate, like really, like study, research. Like it's as much of a divine thing as it is a natural get into it faith without works like study thing, right? So it's like, it's not that I was unprepared. Sorry, I saw 11:11 as I said that. It's not that I was not ready to go, but I wound up listening to like just everyone else's fears and concerns and just, you know, really just not succumbing to the inner truth that I knew and the studying that I'd already done to ensure that transition would have been possible. So long story short, I didn't take it and my life kind of descended into chaos. And one could argue, well, what if your life descended into chaos in Georgia? I don't really think that would have been the point. You know, I'm gonna tell you why. Because again, everything, if you're coming from a place of internal wisdom, you're going to be protected, just period. Like life is going to be life in. But hold on. This made me think about Psalm 91, specifically the verse 7, 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. That was me, y'all. It's still me, honestly, but that was essentially what I was experiencing. Like there was just a lot of chaos. And I feel like if I had taken the leap to go somewhere else at that time period, whether chaos would have came around me or not, I feel is kind of besides the point, because there would have been so much more learning and expansion and faith leaping, you know, in that experience. You know, I look back, I give myself a little hug and forgiveness because I was young, y'all. I was like, what, 23? Like I'm still young. You know, it's like I was like super young, super fresh. Again, moved for the first time in my life. Didn't think I was gonna be moving again at all. It was like, it was quite literally once I had denied or blocked that blessing, that potential blessing, that's when things like started to like fall down, like quote unquote tower moments. You know, like it just things just started breaking apart. So it was really interesting because 2021, like I said, was when I kind of found, or the end of 2020 technically, was when I found more of a stability. But I was very, very unhappy. Like, let me see, if I dropped out, if I took my leave from school in spring 2021, I was still just feeling like I was disconnected. So for like all of 2021, and because of that disconnect, it led me into meditation, reflection, prayer more than I'd ever been. Like, listen, my whole life I've gone to church, read the Bible, etc., prayed, but like the pandemonium was really when I started being like, well, if we're going to say we love what we love, and even though we've seen evidence, why don't we take more heed and like do more intensive study? Which for me, one of the biggest revelations that came to me from then to even now is just the thing of like, oh, your issue wasn't giving love to God, your issue was giving love to yourself. I'm like, I didn't know that. But not even understanding that it goes back to the whole thing of do unto others as you would have them do unto yourself. Like, I was so loving to everybody. I'm a loving individual, but I The relationship with me was a battlefield. And I would say in 2024, this is probably the first time in my life I could really say that I've cultivated any significant level and sense of self-love. I mean, it's still a journey, but I'm jumping ahead. So 2021, I secure a place, and I'm there from essentially 2021 to 2023. But it was, I want to say 2022 or the end of 2021 into 2022, I started hearing the calling again. And it was no longer for Georgia. It was for California. And so I had already seen ways my life had transpired and descended. And I was like, okay, God, I loud and clear, sir. We're locked in. We're tapped in. So, what we doing? How we getting out there? What's good? I was like, what's good? Get me out of Nazareth. And that was the key. That's when I started realizing that New York for me was my Nazareth. That the whole scripture about like, a prophet cannot do any good in their land. Hold on, let me just look up the scripture. Found it, Mark 6:4. A prophet is not without honor except in his own country, among his own relatives, and in his own house. My God. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. The tea is hot. The facts are faxing. Okay. As much love and support as I've experienced in my lifetime, I have never received, sorry, got me a little, I've never received the bounty and blessing I did until I got my black self up out east. I had to leave east, y'all. I had to come west. I had to really figure out what it meant to go from the best coast, from the beast coast. And you know, it's there's a lot that I'm healing to this day due to really coming to an awareness. So here's the thing. A lot of people a lot of New Yorkers, come speaking to like the native New York vibe. Shout out to my native New Yorkers, because still Bronx girly all my life. Period. Gun Hill cheeky. Anyway, point being, there were a lot of people that left New York during the pandemonium, and even still now. And all of them will tell you, best decision of my life. I love you, I miss you, but nah. Actually, a lot of them say they miss New York, to be honest. I do, because I don't know, but like, you know, I ain't gonna live there. And so a lot of people that have left, they would talk about like just the difference. And, you know, I was doing some traveling during the 2020s, because I'm not gonna hold you. I mean, airfare was cheap. And more so, beyond that, it's just like, I don't know, like I just feel like in my travels, I had discovered, first of all, I had no idea the US of the A is so different. Like east to west is genuinely such a different cultural landscape. And I never would have known that, which I know before my trajectory was New York to Georgia. But I digress. You know, every state has its own flavor. I'm from the best state. But the problem with being the best of anything is that there is a lot of toxicity that underlies that, right? There's an underpinning of, how can I explain this? I guess what I'm trying to say is, I'm from the city that never sleeps. And once you leave a place like that, you recognize that that's unhealthy AF. And not really any way else to put it around. Like, we glorify, that's we as New Yorkers. Obviously, if it don't apply, let it fly. But there's an exception to every rule, right? So I'm speaking on the behalf. New York is toxic, period. Like, to put it. And it's toxic in the way that my whole life I've been ostracized, bullied, looked at off weird. And it's because I was always the nice girl, the kind girl. Like, you know, I was trying to always bring light to places. And it's just, there is so much beauty. First of all, just so much beauty in the world, period. But there is so much beauty in New York that is untapped. And there are many reasons for this, from social to economic to physical, blah, blah, blah. But the biggest thing is that, you know, any place that glorifies not getting rest, any place that glorifies not taking time for yourself, any place that frowns upon being a good freaking person, that's not healthy. And I will say, because still to stick to the best side of it, I feel like I've been so successful in other places on the practical level due to my New Yorkianness and just the ability to handle grit, to handle attitudes, to handle timelines and time crunches and this and that's and that's and thises. So again, my love, I will always have love for New York, but I had to recognize it was my Nazareth. And I mean, it was once I had finally left that I started having people like be respectful towards me. I started having people like genuinely want to help and support me for the first time, like without strings attached. And again, this is not any shade to anyone who has helped me in New York. I'm talking about net positive versus net negative. You know, it's like I had many good Samaritans from my city step in and help a sister out. But I had many strangers, people I could call friend, just many different energies, more so come from my travels than from my own hometown. You know what I mean? Like that's, and a lot of times, and again, it's not like I have 30 million followers or anything crazy like that, right? Like I barely have 3,000. But I'm talking about like on other platforms, you know. Because I love my little 70 here. I'm honestly, I ain't gonna hold you. I love the fact that this arena feels more intimate. Like not to go off too into the stratosphere and talk about other topics, but just real talk, it really touches my heart that, you know, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Hold on. I'm just such a shy, anxious girl. So like, I like that I have like 80 people on here. And like the day when I might have like 8,000 terrifies me. Yeah. But one of the biggest things that I've learned in my journey of this living thing is that I stand out, even when I'm not trying to. Like I'm talking like, be in the grocery store, there's scores of other people, and someone will still choose me to be the one they ask where the eggs and the milk at. I mean, it's a blessing. I'm learning to accept it as a blessing, but it's also kind of annoying. And on top of traumas and PTSD, you know, it's also just like, it's a lot. But I'm deciding to really take a stronger hold of my narrative. So thanks, that got me back on the track actually. So I was trying to find my through line for coming to California. And because Georgia was going to be the same through line. I mean, again, college, period. So I was looking for that through line, and all of a sudden the school that I'm currently at just came up into my periphery again. And I'll also add, same thing with Georgia. When I was being called to Georgia, I'm telling you everything, whether it was someone talking about Georgia, whether it was Georgia commercials, which I'd never seen in my life, but started just popping up. Like so many signs were telling me go to Georgia. So when it stopped, I noticed it, right? That is to say, once I felt come to Cali, it was the same thing. Because it was literally just me like, God, where should I go? I know you want me to go, but where should I go? And he was like, I got you, and started putting out the commercials, putting out the signs, yada, yada, yada. So, because again, asking ye shall find. God doesn't mind you being inquisitive. He minds you being interrogative. There is a difference. I'll do a linguistics lesson all the time. But essentially, you know, I asked a question, I started seeing the signs. And it was really given, you better mother love and listen. So I did. And I mean, I tell you, things started moving. Like, hearts that I never thought would shift started shifting. Okay? Doors that I never even knew existed started opening. on the positive, right? Like when I first had popped out here over on the west side, well, specifically to California. I did take like a trip or two out here. But and that was the thing too. I took a trip out here actually in 2021, and it was just one of the most aligned experiences in my life. Like even my friend who was hosting me out here, she was like, I ain't never seen it line up for nobody like it's lining up for you right now. Like, what? How you getting blessed? Like literally, it was, again, my whole life I seen it as a blessing, even through my abuses, and injustices and traumas I've endured. God carried me through, period. So, like, nobody can ever take that from me. And no matter how you want to label it, slice it, or dice it, when I call on one name, he come through, okay? So, that's, yeah. Like I said, I'm trying not to get all these, I have so many things in my head, y'all. I'm trying not to, like, throw them all at you right now. But that's why, that's actually, so, just all comes together. Okay, so I decided, I'm not going to say the school that I currently go to. It's not a secret as much as I just feel like I don't really need to know. Like, if it comes up, it comes up. I think there's like little hints and Easter eggs around. But, you know, I felt called. The school that I go to now is a school that came up into my periphery when I was like 16, 17. And at first I looked at the tuition and was like, LOL, I guess I can't go. But when I first learned about the school, I was all in. I was like, ah! Like, I remember I called them when I was like 16 or 17 and was like, you know, trying to get the info. Like, oh, I hear you got a high school program and blah, 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 blah. Like, I was trying to be up in there like swimwear. Okay. But unfortunately, like I said, the money was not moneying the way it should when I was that age. I mean, still not moneying the way it should right now. The money was not moneying the way it should at that age. And so while there are so many people I know that have done the SUNYs and the CUNYs, and I did them as well, of course, like I said, hold on, wait. The money was just not moneying. And I kind of just looked at it as a pipe dream, or like, okay, if you want to go to this school one day, you got to get your scholarships together, blah, 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 blah. Also, there was a sidebar that like I had done a college program, like a college class when I was in high school, and they were like, we're not taking this credit. And I was like, what you mean? So at the time, you know, it was not aligned, but I was really disappointed. Over the years, working in the underground industry in New York, I had met so many artists that had went to this school. And from my perspective, these were artists that I'm like, they helped you. You doing this because sign me up. Sign me up. Sign me up. Because for a long time in my journey, everything that was given to me, God given, sure, but like, I always would take opportunities and never feel good enough in them. You know what I mean? Like, because I would be in rooms with people that had the degrees or had the extensive credentials or just had a freaking support system. That's a whole nother story. But, you know, I was around these heavyweights, and quite literally my talent, my raw talent has always been a strong catalyst compared to people, or in comparison, in contrast, in tandem. Point being, I would just be the raw talent girl that would be with people that were getting consistent training. And to me, I could notice the difference strongly and starkly enough that it never made me feel comfortable enough. Like I have all the gigs, my LinkedIn is long, my master resume, pages, baby. I still never felt good enough within my own self and career because I knew that I could be a lot better than what I was at. And there's a myriad of reasons why I didn't receive the help I should have received. But we can just, for an accountability measure, we could just say the biggest one was having no money. So, you know, I would do the free workshops here and the free classes there. But everybody that was really standing out were the people that were actually getting consistent support or were in school, etc., for their craft. So, you know, it touched me. It made me feel honored that I could, even to any degree, stand up next to these heavyweights. But I already knew that if I had more training and more honing and more confidence, just more of a lot of things, that I would have been able to really show up even more, even just way better than I have. And I know people who have worked with me or been with me in an artistic capacity, they can maybe attest to that about, I don't know, but I guess what I'm trying to say is I always believed in myself, and even when people doubted me, there was always that seed of like, but no, I know there's something here. I know there's a little more we could, massage out of this dough that is to me. So that stated, I know my broke ass, but I like to say, who had this saying? Someone had this saying like, I'm a millionaire, I'm a billionaire, I just haven't cashed a check yet. Like, that's really me, bro. That's really me. My personal financial life, which I'm a little open about. Like, you gotta keep your financial quiet, right? I'm gonna know. You're not gonna see my bank account. But, on the mental health advocacy standpoint, I'm on disability. That's not a secret. That's not I'm on, little known fact. I'm on disability for my special brand of issues. And with disability, you have to deal with certain parameters regarding the money that you receive and or make. Thus, in my experience, just going to all the dream schools I've desired since childhood didn't really make sense, again, without having a scholarship or some type of financial process put in place. And I was always like, I'm never going to do a loan. I'm not going to get loans. Like, even though I'm on disability, I have great money management. So I still know how to pay my bills on time and save and, all that jazz. But yeah, I guess this is all to say or break down that just ways were open. Like, the moment I said, I'm going to do this is my through line to follow the divine order, which is leave New York. I'm going to go to this school. It happened. I'm telling you, I signed a loan and people sent me money that I never thought would have sent me money, and just so many things. Honestly, I feel like this is its own. All right, well, I'm going to be editing this down, but right now I'm over half an hour of chit chat. So I guess this is to say, I don't know if I should make this a two-parter, but I think, or what? I think I got to the crux of my point. Excuse me. The crux of my point, or the whole point of this, is if you feel called to do something or go somewhere, just do it. Don't worry about the how or the who or the what. Because I'm telling you, when you just follow your internal divine guidance, baby, you're going to see things shift and move that you have never thought. And I think a lot of times people hold themselves back because they think they know everything. People want to really sit here oh, that person would never do this. Oh, that person, oh, that would never happen. How do you know? Most of y'all thought pandemonium would never happen. Guess what? I bet most of y'all thought your job would never let you work from home. Guess what? So it's I really need people to stop acting like they know everything for real. Because I used this example in a past video, but still, it's we haven't even searched all our oceans. We can tap on screens and they'll move and do things for us, but we haven't even searched the whole depths of this one planet. You don't know jack diddly baby, and that's okay. You might know a little something. You might be able to open up a textbook and know something before it's said out loud, but we don't really know nothing. All we know is that we don't know, and the little bit that we do know, we might have to still sit down, reassess it, and question it. And I don't want anybody to overthink that. Don't start asking yourself, oh, well, is the alphabet real? Are shapes still shapes? I mean, I felt like we were really going down the rabbit hole, or really going down the sinkhole once the whole is water wet conversation came up. Because I'm not saying that's not a rough. I'm not saying, because as an overthinker, I'm not saying that's not an interesting question. I'm just kind of saying, bruh, we really got to worry about what is that really what we're worried about? Is that something we really have to we live in such a world where we are indeed questioning what seem to be unquestionable. So why not question your own sense of reality? And I don't mean the Lulu is the Salulu. I just kind of mean this is the matrix. Truly, truly, the world is your oyster. As long as you got breath in you, as long as you got a little faith in you, and I mean mustard seed faith, y'all. And as long as you have a vision in you, it's enactable. You just have to, again, sit down, do the work of research of like, okay, well, how can I make this happen? Again, if you are spiritual to any degree, pray to your higher power and be like, yo, help me, please. Right? Because that's another thing people forget with free will. It's like, we're allowed to do what we need to do when we need to do it. But that's why there's not always a divine intervention, because you have to welcome those principalities in, right? So you have to say, I'm open to rebuke. I'm open to change. I'm open to reconsidering or seeing something new and different. And that doesn't just mean within yourself. That's also like with other people. Like if I had lived my life and moving in the way of like just concerning myself over what I knew someone would or wouldn't do for me, oh, baby, I wouldn't be blessed. I wouldn't be blessed at all. What? Nah. There's always a thing of like knowing someone's character, hopes and wishes, wants and dreams, that stuff. But it's like, really understand anything. And I feel like if you don't understand this after the pandemonium, I don't really know what to tell you. But understand anything can happen. And in that case, let's focus on the good things. Let's keep our minds and eyes and sights and hearts and just focus it on better things. Because examples of manifestation are present every day in our lives. And it's so funny because the first thing I just thought about was like zombie movies, like the Fent crisis, the bath salt thing from a few years ago. Like, we've seen zombies. They may not be the same Walking Dead type that we know of or we're used to, but we've seen fantastical things. And again, just life itself is fantastical. Big old reptiles that used to run around the earth, that's fantastical. That's crazy. That's crazy. The human ingenuity and power to make things, skyscrapers, that's crazy. Planes, jet fuel is crazy. What? Like, I feel like legitimately, that's the thing. Probably the last note. We, I believe, are called to have the wonder of a child. Hang on. This was Matthew 18:3. Truly I say to you, unless you turn and become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. And my goodness, is that not a word? Because truly, I walk around every day like, this is the land of make-believe. And what takes me out, or what sorrows me really, is the world itself. It's painful seeing most people not recognize just how powerful it is to be in this time, born in this time with tap devices. And if there's anything I could invoke or spread to anyone, it's just to really live your life with wonder and do something wonderful every day. Like, this is kind of in tandem with the whole give gratitude every day thing. But it's also like, it's just really, really helpful to remind ourselves, in order to ground ourselves, of the little magics I like to think of as that, or just the little magics that exist within our world. And yeah, if you have anything you need to do, just go do it. Trust me, I've been there. You don't want you don't want to see the reversal. But yeah, my Cali journey is genuinely its own story, so I might have to like do the footage for that. Regarding what this journey has expressed into my physical and spiritual life, just a sense of being invaluable. And again, not just me, but like recognizing how necessary I think the biggest thing this journey has taught me is just how to really become more obedient and to really allow inspired actions to live. Because, I mean, back over in New York, I was kind of in this one note journey where I found myself becoming something I wasn't quite okay with. In essence, assimilating to achieve certain tasks. And out here, I'm like, no, you can be just your wild, free, unmasked self. You can do anything and be anyone just how the heck you are. And that's a superpower that was not available to me in Nazareth, whether because I just didn't feel comfortable or genuinely because it just wasn't safe. It was, I mean, this goes into like, yeah, that's a story. Yeah. But that is all to say, in accordance with trying to be a more obedient human, of course, to the Most High, but also to my own dreams, wishes, and desires, and to continue catering to the visions that child me had and is now recognizing are still relevant and even more so pertinent to today's current systems. Yeah, I look forward to presenting, sharing new work that not only embodies this essence of gratitude and testimony, but also really brings in people more than ever. Again, if you follow this page for a while, you know me primarily as a spoken word poet who likes to drop a good song and ditty and soliloquy. And this page is going to still be that, but it's also going, it's expanding. And as I've always desired, this vision is bigger than me. And for the first time, like I said, I'm just receiving the support to manifest those things. Writing the vision, making it plain. Habakkuk. Habakkuk. I never know how to say it, but the vibe is vibe. Hold on, let me just read that one. No, this really made me like want to look up how to say the name.
Is attributed to the prophet. How do you go about pronouncing this name? Habakkuk.
Habakkuk.
You do want to stress on the second syllable, the ba syllable. Habakkuk.
Habakkuk.
Of Habakkuk.
Habakkuk. So that's Habakkuk to write the vision and make it plain. And yeah, which I feel led to also make a note on manifestation, or the word specifically, the word manifestation specifically. A lot of words have been co-opted. Actually, I feel like I just leave it there. A lot of words have been co-opted, period. And that's not even a biblical thing. Just a lot of words have been co-opted. This country's literacy has dropped significantly. Hold on, let me look up hold on. I just want to look it up because I love a good statistic. So it says in 2024, the USA literacy rate is at 79%, which allegedly globally literacy rates have fallen, especially since the pandemonium. But from an NPR article in June 22nd, 2023, US reading and math scores dropped to their lowest levels in decades. Now, this little sidebar of a comment or a commentary, if you will, is actually a great foundation, well, sad foundation, a great as in big, but sad foundation towards bigger projects I have going on, which will address the linguistics because, again, just passing on the knowledge. I was a Hooked on Phonics kid. If you didn't know, I'm an author, $2. Won various writing awards as a teen. Shout out Scholastic. And yeah, just literacy has fallen. So especially when it comes to things of the spiritual natures, it's really easy for people to forget where certain things and sayings stem from, because specifically the word manifest, definition. To manifest is to adjective, clear or obvious to the eye or mind, and a verb, display or show acts or appearance, demonstrate. When we pray and then make, faith without works, when we pray and then when we proceed to enact the moves that have been prayed upon, pray with the P-R-A-Y, not the E-Y, you are manifested. I just saw 44. That's how real it is. You're like, forget the new way. Like literally just, if we could like learn definitions again, we could be so much better as a society at large. Not every, point being, because that was a linguistics lesson for another day. But just I felt led to state that. Because like even in the Bible, manifest in the Bible is simply to make something known. So, you know, when you're manifesting, quote unquote, it's still just a process of imagining what you want, or checking in with your higher source, like, hey, you know, this is something I'm interested in, and then waiting for the divine guidance, or not just waiting for the divine guidance, but to also waiting for the divine guidance and taking those steps to make it happen. So like, I manifested moving to California. I only was able to manifest it via him. I felt the calling. He said, get this work. I did this work, and boom. People like I said, this goes into a deeper, bigger conversation around just, again, understanding your own divinity, so to speak, or understanding the divine DNA that we have, being a human creation. And when you understand and acknowledge that free will is the biggest blessing or the biggest curse, I think that's when a lot of movement can start to be made. And again, I'm not even strictly speaking from a religious, spiritual standpoint. It's just the fact of the matter. You can either go left or you can either go right. Choose. You know what I'm saying? It's a fork in the road type of situation. So I don't know, I feel like I'm rambling now, but yeah, essentially that was everything on my mind. I'm definitely editing this down. I do not feel called to be posting a 47-minute video. So hopefully it's 30 minutes by the time I post it. But yeah, just I feel like once we figure out what words mean again, make words have meaning again. Once we figure out what words mean again, maybe we can stop getting caught up in the emotions of things and start working or balancing the rationale of things, and understanding that, you know, whether you're talking about it in the adjective or the verb, we have the power to manifest, period. Like, we just do. We make things happen. If I don't know, oh, I want liquid in this cup. Damn, no, wait, that was a bad example. Hold on. I'll use such a basic example and leave it here. Hold on. Oh. I'll do like a basic example and leave it here, right? Oh, I'm imagining the word dog. How can I see the word dog? Oh, well, let me just get this pen. Get me a little piece of paper. Guess who just manifested the word dog? It's that simple, folks. It's not that simple, but it's that simple. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't know what I'm saying, stick around, because I'll probably explain it a little better. But that's all. End of the day, all I can say is be kind to yourself, say your prayers, drink your water, and listen to that inner guidance, but also ask about it. Because if you're being called, you need to ask who's on the other end. All right, what's this giving? What I gotta do? You know, always check in with, always just check in. And end of the day, if you're really attuned and ready to do the work and if you're ready to do the work, then I think you'll find the will to succeed. Now, let me find a better way to say that. God will make a way, period. The end. If you check in, God will make a way. And if you feel like a way hasn't been made, maybe you got to see if you're standing in your own way. Maybe. We all got different situations. Take what applies, let the rest fly, and pray on anything that you don't pray on, or research anything that you didn't understand. And in that chord, Night Nighter signing out. Until next time.